XOXO, got the girl. Pose. Good morrow and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, I'm not sure how you got here, but certainly I'm glad you came. And if you are new here, well, you're in for a treat. All right, if you enjoy chaotic, frenetic energy and any of these things, then I suggest you go on ahead and subscribe because you never know what color my hair is gonna be or how long. All right, what are we here with today, Audra? Well, today is the first ever edition of
Ask Mother Midnight.
Me. I asked y'all a few weeks ago to let me know what relationship questions you wanted answers to, and I feel like I'm trying to deliver. I wanted to make sure that I looked really good. I mean, am I wearing a t-shirt? Yes. Do I always wear t-shirts? Mostly, yes. But I am finally here. I'm really excited for this. I have this cute ass wig. I have the Alicia Kinky Sweat Hi Friends beanie. I'm feeling like a bad bitch. And when I feel like a bad bitch, you get the best answers. So let's go. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to say the names of the people who asked the questions because I want people to be able to, even though it was a public forum, I want people to be able to like remain anonymous-ish. So the first question is how to get over a lifetime hurt in order to be with a new partner you truly love, and also how to forgive. So the thing about getting over a lifetime hurt is that there's no prescribed way to do it. For me, what I started doing is just really focusing inward and not like, oh, if you love yourself then others will love you. Obviously, that's obvious. But the reality is I just really started focusing on the things that I wanted to improve, not so much on myself, like looks wise or anything like that, but things I wanted to improve in my life. So like I wanted to get more organized. I wanted to film YouTube more. I wanted to do more things I enjoyed. And I felt like as I started doing those things, each little section of those would kind of help me to move past something or some way that someone had hurt me. You know, I began to realize like, you know what, maybe I'm not super fun and that's okay. Maybe I am boring, that's okay. I don't wanna hike. I don't wanna go for a run. I don't like to exercise. And you know what, that's perfectly fine. More than anything, I started accepting myself for exactly who the fuck I am and realized that there's nothing that I could do to make someone else love me the way that I needed to be loved. So that's kind of how I did it. I just started looking inward and accepting myself for who I am. As for forgiving, you don't have to forgive a fucking person. No. Forgiveness is for the Christian God. That is not what we do over here in the world of pagan. Listen, I strongly believe that you don't have to forgive. I feel like there's this weird narrative that goes around being like, oh, if you're an adult, you forgive. No, you don't. You don't have to. You don't have to hold on to it. You don't have to have a grudge. But you damn sure don't have to forgive if you don't want to. Because I feel like it actually causes you far more pain. Far more pain trying to force yourself to forgive when you really don't want to. You don't have to. You don't have to forgive. You learn and you move on. But just don't hold on to it. All right, next question. Ooh, this one's really great. Okay, so this one says, I'm newly out as pansexual bi, but I'm very anxious about getting back out into dating. I thought it was COVID, but I'm nervous about dating women and being seen as experimenting, and guys are always just trash. Yes. Yes, guys are always just trash. Here's the thing, dating women is a lot different, I find, in a lot of ways, because even though women can be just as like shady, I feel like there's a bit more upfront sensations going on when you're dating a woman. It's just like, I'm not interested in really like settling down, which that's a whole, U-Haul lesbian is a whole other thing. But I think that what you do is you just get out there. What I started doing is I would go to like gay clubs, obviously before this whole, you know, pandemic started, but I would go to gay clubs and have a good time and dance. And here's the thing, I would go to gay male clubs first so that I could get kind of comfortable in being in an environment full of gay people. You know what I mean? Like when you're at first when you're like, I'm straight, and then you're like, I don't think I'm straight. I don't think I'm straight. And I would just run into people in regular bars and then just like make out with women in the bathroom. Listen, we're not judging old me, and I'm still, I'm not sorry. But getting more comfortable with being in like a fully gay scene, a lot of gay men are very welcoming and open and fun to women when you come in and you're like, yeah, woo, and you have a good time. And then you just kind of get used to, this was my experience, I just got used to being around all gay people, which wasn't something that I had done. And then I just started going into lesbian bars and just started having a really good time, and you know, a little freak. But don't worry, here's what I would say. I will say this because there is a lot of like, let me say, rudeness against bi and pan people in both ends of the community. And what I would say is initially, you don't really have to discuss exactly what your sexuality is. Just go have fun. If you meet someone, like, I'm sorry, did I do that out loud? I'm so sorry. That was terrible advice. No, it wasn't. Do what you want. Have a good time. Enjoy yourself. And of course, you're going to be nervous, but just like be yourself, have fun, get out there. You don't have to tell your life story, babes. You don't. Just go out, have fun. If you find a girl you find alluring, let her know. This next one comes from somebody who says, how to navigate a relationship with someone who is religious when you are not. This is tricky, but here's what I'm gonna say. You actually have to look past just like right now. You're gonna have to look towards the future. If they are someone who is Christian and they're gonna want to baptize your child, is that something that you're gonna be interested in? Are you going to want to ever go to church? How do your political views line up with their religious views? All of that is gonna play a factor, and honestly, for the most part, I would say don't do it because it's fundamental. It's a fundamental part of your lives. It is a fundamental part of their life. They are religious. That's not something that's just going to disappear overnight. That is something that they hold dear, and you can't change that, and you shouldn't want to, right? Just like they shouldn't want to change that you are not religious, but this will always be a source of contention in your relationship, and it's not a good building block. Anytime you are talking about the fundamental pieces of someone, the fundamental parts of someone, if those don't line up, there's not a way to navigate that relationship. I know that there are people who say that they do, but what they really mean is that they just don't talk about it ever, at all. And then they clash when those things come up, and then they just don't talk about it again. So unless you're really prepared to spend your life essentially not talking about things, you might want to reconsider. It's up to you. Remember, I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm just some goofy broad on the YouTubes. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I just don't. I think that religion, politics, these are all things that you should align with in order to have a good, healthy relationship that's filled with open communication. I just don't think that that's necessarily possible when you feel one way and they don't. Again, other people might argue, but we're free to disagree. All right, this is really cute. How to add spice to a loving but boring relationship. Okay. So, first of all, let me just tell you, I know that the whole bondage thing has really become like, whoo, lately. And what I would say is you don't want to go from A to Z, because I feel like I will tell you a personal experience I had. Our relationship was very boring, and like it had been boring for a long time. And at the time I didn't realize it was because I didn't like him or the sex, but we, jumped into swinging, which was fun, right? But realistically speaking, we jumped way too far, and too fast to really play in the middle. So try introducing some toys, which is always a good time. Look at them together. I know it can be a little awkward at first because you're suddenly looking at toys together and it's I think this will work. But look at toys together. I know sometimes if this is a hetero relationship, I know sometimes men get very, very jealous of vibrators, but make it fun. You can get vibrator, the clip. There's a butterfly clip. Listen. This is Ask Mother Midnight, so here we go. There's a butterfly clip. You attach it to the taco, and you can give the remote to your loved one. And you can maybe go out to dinner, okay? Go out to dinner, have a nice time, all right? And every so often, you butts, and you have a nice time. Anticipation. It's very exciting. It's very exciting. But if that's too much for you, then consider little things like a little bit, like a tiny bit of bondage, like handcuffs, role play that you both find fun and interesting, but be careful with role play, because when you decide to do role play, make sure that you have rules set in place. I know you're like, Audra, rules? Yes, because things can get a little if you don't set the rules up in place, because people get excited a lot of times in the role play and they take it just way too far, and you're not happy with that. So yeah, just consider playing with like little toys and things like that. And worst comes to worst, or best comes to best, just start doing it in places you don't normally do it. This one's really good. So I'm late on seeing this and not sure if you're still taking questions, but I'll ask anyways. My question is, as a mom to 2 girls from a previous marriage, is it wrong to expect my partner to fit into my existing life with my girls? I have a hard time making concessions to include him in anything when my girls are home with me. He either joins in what we are doing or not. I don't care either way, because I'm gonna do what I want to do with my girls when they're home. I am like a bitch. No. Okay. You are not a bitch. It is absolutely not wrong for you to want your partner to fit into your existing life, because the thing about dating with children, as a child of someone who was dating, a mother who was dating when I was young, it is very important that that person fit into the life you already have. Now, one thing I would say is that sometimes you might want to create activities that are just for y'all, like your dynamic, so that it's different than the dynamic that they might have with their other parent. But it isn't wrong. Your children don't need upheaval. They don't need for things to be like weird or wild or strange. They don't need to feel like everything's just completely different. You want them to feel at home and comfortable with your partner, and you want your partner to feel at home and comfortable, which is why I definitely suggest that you come up together with some activities that y'all do specifically that makes it so that this is your dynamic, and that makes things better for your girls. They'll be excited, they'll like hanging out, and you will also be happy. But if they can't fit in, then they got to go. Ooh, I was wondering if this was going to come up. I would want to know your opinion on keeping phone passcodes private from each other is healthy, and if it's even necessary to have each other's passwords. And then it says, and do you think a relationship can go from unhealthy to healthy if both parties work on themselves while staying in the relationship? So we have 2 questions here. So the first is, I am a strong proponent of you should not have to share your cell phone passwords. This is stupid. It is a dumb argument that people have started saying, like, well, if you have nothing to hide. And I'm like, I don't have anything to hide. I would put it to you this way. Would you feel comfortable if someone came to your house and went through every single drawer, went through your internet history? No, I don't want you going through my phone. I don't want you going through all of the pictures that I have in there. A lot of them are selfies, a lot of them are beau, and then I have memes. Like, that is not an indicator as to whether or not I'm cheating on you. And fun fact, even if you have each other's passcodes, if you are so stressed out thinking that someone's gonna cheat on you because you don't have their passcode, then you already don't trust them. So there's zero reason for this whole argument to be going back and forth. I don't think it's healthy. I think it's kind of a ridiculous idea to keep expecting that someone gives you their cell phone password and you give them yours, and then you just unlock each other's phones at random moments. Like, that's not cute. Because again, if they really want to stray on you, they're going to find a way regardless of the fact that you have their passcode. It's not going to change the behavior. They're still going to be a cheater. Like, period, point blank. I just don't think that that is a healthy way to behave. It's not a good way to build trust. In fact, I think it fosters a lot of distrust. Knowing that you can go through your partner's phone at any point in time, honestly, I think creates like a weird, obsessive behavior with checking it all the time to see like what's changed, what's happening, whose photos did they like. I think it sets you up to like become a monster instead of just like being a normal person. He's like, hey, what are you looking at? And then they're like, here. Like, it's enough for me that a partner would be like, here, look at this, and like hand me their phone. That obviously tells me that they're not hiding anything anyway, so I'm good. Now, when it comes to can you form a healthy relationship when you're both unhealthy and then you get therapy, that one is a difficult one to answer, because sometimes when you start getting healthy, you may often realize that you're unhealthy for each other. So there's a lot of times where even if you go to therapy and couples therapy or do all of this stuff, you may find out that as you're getting healthier, you're just not healthy for each other. And that sucks and it's painful, but it can happen. Otherwise, I think it can work out, but just keep that in mind that even though you're both getting healthier and getting yourselves together and getting your inner peace, that could also mean that you have to realize that that person that you're with is one of the things that's making you unhealthy. So I'm sorry I didn't have good news on that one. Ooh, okay, so this one says, how to deal with questions about why you're still single. Listen, first of all, I just feel like questions about whether or not, like why you're single or whatnot, are obviously, I feel like they're intrusive and they're rude. I don't even think you have to deal with them. If somebody's like, oh my God, why are you still single? You should just be like, oh my God, I like having money and peace of mind. Like, the pursuit of a relationship, and I've said this before, is a waste of time. I'm not saying a relationship is, but constantly pursuing one is a waste of your time. You end up spending so much time trying to find that person that you're losing yourself in the process, because I feel like the constant pursuit of trying to find somebody also causes most of us to start readjusting ourselves in ways that we normally wouldn't if we were just like out in the world. You know what I mean? Like if you were just out there, you're dating, you're doing your thing, and you're like, I don't stand for that. But as you keep like going through matches and all of this stuff, I feel like you start making concessions that you wouldn't normally make. So realistically, you're single because you want to be. Like there's no reason to go out there and try to find someone. If you happen to meet someone, great. If they end up being the love of your life or the love of right now, fantastic. But there's literally no issue with being single. It doesn't mean you're alone and sad. Being married doesn't mean that you're happy. Keep that in mind. Oof, okay. Is it right for your partner to make you feel bad for spending a lot of money on you, even though he didn't have to and you never asked for him to? He's my ex now, but I still think back on it. No, it is not. That is gaslighting. That is a form of manipulation, and it's horrid. These kind of relationships, I've been in them. They are really terrible because here's the fun fact. The key thing you said is you didn't ask him to, but he did it anyway. And then when you weren't grateful enough for one thing or another, he gets to go, I spend all this money on you. And you know what? You don't even like care. And it turns around to make you always seem like the bad guy in every argument. It's horrific and it's bad. It is emotionally manipulative and damaging. So yes, it is bad for that. I'm glad they're your ex. I'm glad you got out. Don't ever fall for that again. Never let anyone gaslight and emotionally manipulate you to where you always feel like you are on the defensive end of every conversation that you have. All right. So this one has several parts. I'm going to do one part of it today, which is how do you effectively communicate your needs to a partner and how to really hear and fulfill their needs as well, so it's a balanced and happy relationship. So here's the thing. I'm going to say this. Like when people talk about communication, you have to just say what the fuck you mean. It's very important to do that. Constantly saying things like, it'd be nice if I got flowers, isn't saying I want flowers. Isn't saying I would like you to send tulips for my birthday. Because as much as we'd like to believe that our partners truly know and love us, like everybody has moments of density. There are people who are literal people. There are people who need you to come out and say it and don't like hints. I'm one of those people. So I think that by just saying exactly what you need to say and what you mean to say is going to help you. And I know that it's difficult to do so, especially here in the US of A, where we are consistently taught to soften things. Don't soften it, because honestly, the more you soften it, the less likely the other person is to catch up on what it is that you're trying to say. And in the end, you're gonna end up really kind of pissed off that you didn't get what it is that you wanted. And the same for them. So you can sit there, look at each other, and be like, okay, so your birthday's coming up. What are we gonna do? what do you want to do for your birthday? And instead of you going, oh no, like anything you want to do is fine. Instead of that, if you know that for your birthday, you want to stay in, watch horror films, and eat Japanese food, then say that. Be like, you know what? I want to stay in, I want to watch horror movies, I want to eat Japanese food from this restaurant. Then it's done. Like, they understand it was communicated effectively what you wanted. Now, when it comes to sexy time, same thing. Because I feel like a lot of times when it comes to sexy time, that's where we are our least communicative, and that's where we should be our most communicative. Let them know what things you do and do not like. Let them know what things you want to try. Don't worry if they think that you're a freak and weird because you want to try something that they're like, then you don't need to be dating them, because there's honestly like no reason to, one, kink shame anybody, but there's no reason to kink shame, honestly. I mean, just because I'm not into things doesn't mean it's gross, but like being able to communicate that, because otherwise you will have an unhealthy sexy time. Like, it won't be fun. You'll be laying there like a starfish, unimpressed, and they'll be pumping away or licking away in a way that's making you unhappy. So, you know, just say what you mean. I know it's like that's easy to say, but just say what you mean. This might be the last question, because I don't want to keep y'all here for an eternity. How do you assess compatibility in the early dating process so you don't wake up a year later and realize you don't have the same values? So, you know that old saying where they're like, don't discuss religion and politics, throw that in the trash and discuss it. These things are very important, and it's not just because of today's world. It's important because, like I was saying earlier in a question, these are the fundamentals, the building blocks of a person. And if those building blocks do not mesh, there's literally no reason to continue. For me, if I were to start dating again and somebody was like, oh, I'm a conservative or I'm a moderate, I'm out. Even liberal, I'm probably out. Like, unless you're a leftist, I'm out, you know? But these are things that are gonna be important to me. Did you vote for Trump? Yes? Okay, then there's no reason for us to continue dating. Do you know what I mean? Like, these are things that are important to me. These are the things that are going to make me decide whether or not I want to be with you. So you need to ask these questions up front. I know that it seems daunting and weird to do so, but do it, because it's gonna save you some time. And as you are dating, pay attention to make sure that they are exhibiting the behaviors that they said they believe in. So if somebody says, you know, equality is very important to me, trans rights are very important to me, but then when they see a trans person, they make like an odd face or they make a rude comment, you realize that that's just lip service, and you're like, yeah, no, that's not for me. That's not for me. Like, I can't deal with that. Like, everybody, if you're gonna be like this, I can't imagine how it would be a little bit later. Also keeping in mind that how they treat other people is definitely how they're gonna treat you. Like, look at the ugly way that people treat people, that's how they're gonna treat you. So I hope that was like an answer. I feel like it was an answer. Okay, oh, this is so sweet. This will be the last one. You are light and Bo is equally the same, from someone who is insecure. Starting from a relationship at the beginning of lockdown, then ending it several months later. Any advice from being at peace and trying to work on myself? Love what you do in your channel, and Emily too. Thank you so much. Okay. First and foremost, you don't ever have to actually be like fully at peace, but you do have to accept. Okay? I know that sounded like, what? Like mumbo jumbo. There are things you may never be at peace with, but you can accept them. Like, I am probably never going to be at peace with how ridiculously scrawny my arms are and weirdly swole this part of my body is. But I accept it for the most part. But then, like, there's things about myself where I just fully started embracing and accepting every part of me. And one of the things that I did, this might seem destructive to some people, but I took the things that other people said, and I've kind of talked about this earlier, other people I dated, where they criticized me, and I took those criticisms and I was like, yeah, that's who I am. That's who I am as a person. That's a them problem. That's not a me problem. Like, that's them. They knew this about me when we got together. They just didn't pay attention to it. And I didn't pay attention to the fact that they didn't like it. So I started really taking care of myself and looking inward and really just being okay and accepting who I am. I stopped trying to change the things that people criticize. I quit trying to change them unless they were like super negative behaviors. But I quit trying to change these little personality flaws and started just accepting them as a part of who I am as a person. And once I started doing that, it just made my standards rise. So like my standards are way the hell up here now. And you can't really break past that boundary anymore, because I'm like, yeah, I'm not falling for that. I'm not doing that. And if that means that I end up just like alone with 75 dogs when I die, then so be it, because I'd rather that and be happy and an enjoyable life than have a life fraught with misery, arguing back and forth with shitty companions. I would much rather be alone but not like lonely. I'd much rather be alone but not lonely than I would be with somebody and be lonely. I've been in relationships where I have been with them and lonely, and that is more terrifying to me than dying alone in my apartment and having my dogs eat my body for sustenance until someone finds me. That got dark. But yeah, I think I just started doing things that I enjoy. I started loving who I am, and the more that I do it, it's not even just like loving myself to find a partner. Keep that in mind. You're not loving yourself to find someone. You're loving yourself to love yourself. Like, you need to accept you and be happy with you. And don't worry about finding someone or getting into another relationship. Delete dating apps, get them off of your phone, because those don't help you on your journey. Your journey right now is about you and acceptance and enjoying your life and doing things you like to do, because the more that you do those things, the more peace you might actually find. Ha! I came back around to peace. All right, one more and then I've got to go. We're about to live stream. Okay, so this is the last one. Why do I love so damn hard, especially the dudes that don't love me back? Okay, I'm gonna call this seeking behavior. So, as someone who has been seeking behavior. But also, here's the thing about love. I'm gonna say this. When there are people who just feel, and you feel excited and joyful, and you love someone and you're willing to do all these things to be with them, but it's misplaced because you're seeking. So for those of us who love love and love being in love and love the feeling of love and all of the stuff that goes with love, this is so hard, because we're always the ones out there just like handing out and like being like, I'm here, love me. And they are very happy to do so, because these are the kinds of people that are takers. They take everything and they give you nothing, and they leave you like this empty shell. There's nothing wrong with the fact that you love hard. You just have to pay more attention. So some of the things that I do to like rein in my hard loving, my like, oh, some of the things that I do is I actually sit down and make lists. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I start to make lists about like little things, like I like this, I don't like this, I like this, I don't like this. Like every time we hang out, I make an assessment. I know it sounds like a business deal, but it actually works out in my favor, because it's easier for me to go, okay, this isn't working out. And then I don't fall, because I'm like, you know what? They were rude as shit to waitresses 3 times. I'm done. I'm done. They were rude to wait staff 3 times. I shouldn't date somebody like this, because I know that they're not only are they shitty to them, really they have been shitty to me, and I wasn't aware how shitty they were to me until I realized that they were shitty to the wait staff, and then I remembered this thing that they said to me, and I don't appreciate it. So it's not about like how hard you love. I feel like there's this stigma about being somebody who falls hard and fast, and there shouldn't be. People fall in love the way that they fall in love. There's not one way to fall in love. Just be more careful about who you fall in love with. Don't let these fools like take, and then they give nothing. So for instance, when it comes to dudes, do you get to hang out with their friend circle? If not, bounce. Do they only call you at night and to hang out? If so, bounce. Do they only call you 3 months later, 6 months later, with no explanation of where the fuck they've been, expecting that you're just gonna lay down and have a good time? Bounce. That's not personal at all. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for the questions. This was such a good time. I hope to do this again. Let me know if you like this. Please make sure you thumbs up the video, so then that way I know you like the Ask Mother Midnight series, because next time we do it, it may not be about love, but it might be. Who knows? All right, and as usual, huge shout out to my patrons and spooky bays, yeah! All right. The song was different today. As you know, it costs $0 to be kind, and it's so good for your soul because if you don't take care of it, I'm sure shit coming for years because now I'm organized, so you better watch the fuck out. Until next time, XOXO. Got the girl. Huge shout out. I don't know what that fucking song was. Topo Chico Heart Seltzer. I'm gonna take a real bug on that. Probably. I was so excited to be finished. I was like, I finished. I did it. Did I answer the questions appropriately? Who the fuck knows? I feel so. I'm so wedding. Okay. Do I have to touch it like that? I'm so pretty and I like it. All right, as usual, huge shout out. Huge shout out. Listen, this hair got me acting up. That's my problem. Hatred. That got weird.